What is going on, YouTube gang? Yo, what's going on, Stan gang? Nah, it's too common, huh? Fools use that shit. I can't think of any creative, so I just give up there. Okay. Yo, what is going on, YouTube gang? I'm not sure. I haven't come up with the creative intro yet, so I'm gonna just call you guys YouTube gang. Today, we're gonna be installing some NGK spark plugs from none other than Mafia Racing, the ultimate Mustang V6 3.7 liter tuner. If you guys know them, you guys know how they get down, and they just love making power with all these V6 engines. Today we're going to be installing some spark plugs. We got a little package from them earlier today. We're going to be opening it right outside right now. Here's the package itself. Let's open it up. No. Okay, real quick, since everything's flying everywhere, I don't know why so many today. Here's some cool Mafia Racing stickers that they gave me. Here are all the NGK spark plugs, 6 total. And then here's a very, very nice Mafia Racing lanyard. I might replace my audio lanyard with one of these because these are very nice, and I respect Mafia Racing and the work that they do. Focus, come on. Okay, my focus isn't working. But that's going to be everything that came in this package. Just spark plug stickers and a lanyard. I'm going to put everything inside because everything's going everywhere. Now we're going to start driving towards Autozone. So the reason why we are on our way to Autozone, 3A spark plug magnetic socket, so I can take out the spark plug. And then yeah, we'll get it started and I'll show you guys how it's done. Hello.
No, I'm done with Roush.
Thank you. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I ain't no thief. I know I get down on GTA, but not in real life, just in the game. Alright, so here we have it. What we need. Oh, fuck. Spark plug gapper. Ah. Okay, so we have to go back in there to get what we needed. Now we got it. Let's get started on the install for the spark plug. Okay, so I'm back at my pad. I'm out here in front of my house. I'm gonna get all the tools necessary to do this job. I'm gonna try to get through it as fast and as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We don't have too much daylight, as you can see. Sun's disappearing. So we gotta get to going before the daylight goes completely out, and then we'll have to start relying on flashlights. Not that the job is necessarily too hard. You don't even have to lift the car up. It's just everything is right above the under the hood, right above the engine. I'll show you everything you need to do. Some of this I don't recall strictly off the top of my head. I will have to look up a few things, but I remember for the most part. Without further ado, let's get this install in. Let's take this down, get in our new plugs. Let's get it. Alright guys, so here it is. These are all the tools you're gonna need. So you will need a torque wrench to torque everything down to spec. This is kind of optional because you can break it with a regular wrench, where a breaker bar makes any bolt that is hard to come out easy to get to. A flathead for your clamps, a regular wrench with the 8mm socket, and then of course the spark plug socket, and then channel locks or something similar to this tool for taking out that one sensor with the double clamp. That's useful. A spark plug capping tool, but not that we gapped ours or changed ours, because we figured the way it came was fine. And if in the future, if you need to change yours, you always want to make sure it's right, is make sure it's what you want. Okay, real quick, there is one more tool that you will need. It is a trim and panel remover. You can get it at Autozone. It is from OEM Tools. It is cheap. It is used to remove sensors and different things you need to break loose to get the upper intake off. This will make your job a lot easier. Try your hardest to not forget this tool. And yeah, those are all the tools for the install. Okay, now that we went over all the tools that you need, we're gonna have to disconnect multiple sensors here. There's quite a few. I'm gonna try to remove them and explain how I remove them. I'm gonna try my best to keep you guys informed so you guys know how to do this if you're attempting it yourself. And real quick, before we just dive into it, there's a disclaimer: I'm not responsible for anything that happens to your engine. This is just how I maintain my vehicle. I do all the maintenance on it myself. This is just what works for me. So if something happens, I'm not responsible. I'm just trying to help you guys use this information as you please. Okay, so for the first sensor is this sensor right here. How we're gonna remove it is, I don't know if you guys can see it right there, but there's a little nub. I'm gonna push on the nub. There we go. So yeah, it's just that nub right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right there. You just push it in and then you can just wiggle it right out. It comes right out. The very first sensor. Next one we're gonna do is this one right here. You slide your thumb down right here towards you. It's a little nub right there to help you pull it, and then you can just pull the sensor right out. And then as I mentioned earlier, this fitting right here, 1 piece, 2 piece, are clamps. You can use channel locks. This is what I'm using right here. So you're gonna want to go over both. I don't think this one's long enough actually. No, unfortunately this one's not long enough. When I try to grab them, it barely touches that bracket right there. So this one we will need a bigger one. So that's one problem you can encounter with this one. Okay, so it turns out it'll work with just me clamping one of them. I clamped this one and then it just pulled right off. I didn't have to touch this one. Maybe it's because when it was reseated it wasn't pushed in all the way. I'm not sure, but we'll double check that on the reinstall. Okay, so you can see me fidgeting with the same sensor we just removed. It is a double clamp sensor. It is attached to the intake, and you will need a trim and panel tool that I mentioned earlier to take it off. I have taken all these off by hand and I've ruined some of them, which is something that I regret. So this is where it would be useful. You just take it right off with the trim and panel tool, and this is going for all the sensors that you will have to take off that will be attached to the intake. Make sure this is loose because it's attached to the intake. We're taking the intake off. Okay, so the next thing we're doing is we're taking off this 8mm bolt. So here's the intake. This is what we're taking off. I'm gonna take out this bolt right here. This is a brace right here. It connects to the engine block. You want to disconnect it. So using an 8mm. Always make sure you don't drop the screws. Continue to take it out carefully, like so. So I just unscrewed 8mm bolt here, 8mm bolt here. I unscrewed this one entirely, cracked this one so the bracket can move. So that way the bracket is no longer attached to the intake. So next up is going to be the sensor with the blue clip. Okay, so to disconnect this sensor, there's gonna be, it's 3 sides to it. There's the big clip right here, and then on the back there's one little nub here and one little nub here. So nub, big clip. So all you're gonna do is you're just gonna grab both of the nubs, push them towards the right. Don't be too aggressive with them. Just they move. As long as you're moving them in the right direction, they'll budge. Push them in that direction. This clip will start to pop out. You just push it, and then once you see it start to pop out, you just remove it. And that's another sensor down. And then for this sensor right here, the one next to it, I believe you just push this down, and then you can just pull it. Okay, next up, we are gonna remove this intake from the throttle body, because the throttle body is a part of the upper intake, and the upper intake is coming off, so we gotta take that off. The clamps, they will be a flathead. You just loosen them up and it should come right out. Oh fuck. No, that's not a big deal. We can get that. Hashtag mechanic fail. So now the throttle body should just slide right off. It's a little bit of pressure, just like that. And just make sure the wires aren't strained too much. There's play, so we should be okay with that. if any of the wires or anything is being yoinked on, please disconnect the sensors. Don't break your sensors, they're very important. One more line right here. It is connected towards this area. It's not attached to the intake, it's attached to the fuel rail. You only touch this if you want to get to the fuel rail or the injectors, but in this case we're just doing spark plugs, so we're not going to touch that. So at this point we're going to remove all of the 8mm bolts. Yep, 8mm. We'll count them as we go along. That's one. You're gonna want to start in the center and work your way out. Same when you retighten it. Move that sensor out of the way. This is a long extension. I'm just doing this so I don't hit anything. But short extension will do just fine too. So that's two. That's three. 1, 2, 3. There's a fourth one right here. Sneaky one, but easy to get. So that's these four. There's one more right here. My extension is likely going to get in the way, but there are no cables, so I can remove the extension. So that's the fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's number 6. And then number 7 is right here. It's hard to see, but just follow the bolts up. 3, 4, and then just look to the left and it's right here. You can definitely feel it if you just reach for it. Alright, now with all those bolts loose, you should be able to crack open the intake. Just pull it right off. But before you do that, once you open the intake, the lower intake holes are going to be exposed. So get a big clean rag or a clean towel and put it right over. I don't have one on hand, so I'm gonna go get one right now. Okay, so I got this towel. I use it to dry my car, but in this case we're going to be using it to make sure nothing gets inside of our intake. So always before you put it over your intake, you're going to want to fan it out hard so that way you can get anything that might be on it off. And now we should be able to take our intake right off. Give it a little wiggle. If it's not coming out, then we probably have some bolts that still need to be pulled out all the way. Make sure they can all bounce and go up and down. Wow, I've never seen it come out before. That's crazy. To remove this clip, you're just gonna pull back on the red. You're just gonna disconnect it like that. Okay, so now you're just gonna want to place your towel over the holes right here. If you can see them, that's your lower intake. You don't want anything going in your engine, so cover it like so. Now once you remove the intake, the ignition coils will be exposed. So now you just remove these 8mm bolts on the ignition coils, 3 on this side, 3 on the opposite side. Okay, so that's 3 done on this side, now 3 on the other. Okay, so that's 1 down on this side, 2 more to go. Okay, so now that you got the 6 bolts out, now we just need to disconnect these sensors and then we could take off the ignition coils. To take off these sensors, you're just gonna want to slide up on the white. Yep. So pull up on the white. That part is easy. It'll just go right up. It'll click. Put a little bit of force. It's not easy, but with a little force it'll come out. Just make sure you're pulling it up and right and not like bending it down or breaking any of these sensors. And then same on the other side. Pull it up, push it out. That one came out really easy. Pull it up and push it out. This one was a little stubborn, so I skipped it, but okay, this one's not coming out. There we go. That hurt. Now you can just grab the ignition coils and just pull them right out. So in my particular case, these ignition coils are very hard to pull out.
They were pretty stuck onto the engine. I had to use a lot of force to take them out. I've done a decent amount of work on my car, and a lot of the stuff has been rusted or dirty, and that's because the previous owner didn't take care of it. So your situation might be different and it might be a lot easier to do, but in my case it was really hard.
They just pop out with pressure on both sides just like that. Now in my case, I want to try to put each coil back as they were. I want to put them in exactly where they were. So since the vehicle is like this, I'm going to use this chair to set them up 1, 2, 3, bottom, middle, top. Bottom, the one I just took out, middle, top. So we're going to take them out and line them up like that so we know where they were. So the 3 ones on the passenger or driver side are done. Now we're gonna move on to the passenger. I'll move the light on over so you guys can see more easily and clearly. And my fingers are hurting, guys, pulling these out. These are pretty tough in there, so if you can't get these out yourself, make sure you got someone strong. My motor has a lot of miles on it, so that could be it, but this is the final one right here. There's spark plugs right there. Gonna load up the GoPro, make sure you guys can see them. Yep, right up in there, and up in there too. We're gonna be taking those out. Whew! I managed to catch it. It flew out. Man, these things are really tough to pull out. I'm not sure if there's a tool to pull them out, but just using my fingers, and man, it's hard with your fingers. Fuck you, Terry. So next you're going to use your 5/8 socket to take out each spark plug. So now that they're all broken loose, we can throw on the smaller ratchet and then just get them all out. If you've driven it, they're going to be hot, so be careful. Make sure to get your shirt or a microfiber and pull it out. So now we got 3 out on the driver's side. As you can see, these have gone ugly. This has been extremely discolored and dark. This one's mildly discolored and dark, still pretty bad. And this one is the best out of all of them. It doesn't look too bad. Let's take out the other 3. So these are all the spark plugs, 3 and 3. These are a little colored, not too bad. These are pretty dark and look pretty bad. However, I'm not going to be using these anymore. But now let's take out the NGKs and let's compare them. Okay guys, so this is it. Compare a couple side by side. This one looks a lot more smaller and compact. It does definitely look tinier. This little nub right here and the little spark. I'm not sure what the technical term for that part is. So obviously.
So looking back while I'm editing it, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that that's an electrode of the spark plug.
All of them, these look much better. They're a lot tinier. So it's recommended that you gap these at 0.028. Right now I'm going to grab a couple of the factory spark plugs and let's see what they were gapped at. Okay, well as you can see, this was gapped to 0.60. We're going to try that one more time. So we're going to slide it on. We're going to keep rotating until we feel resistance. 0.60 again, same spot. The next spark plug also a little under 0.60. Let's try one more time. Again, a little under 0.60. Let's try 2 more from this side, the other side, and we'll call it a day for these. This one's a little bit above 0.60. This one is also a little above 0.60. So the stock plugs were gapped at 0.60. I was told for the NGKs that they're supposed to be gapped at 0.28 by Auto Mafia Racing. Said that a little funny. So now these are supposed to be 0.28. Let's check out what the NGKs are gapped to. This one stopped at a little bit above 0.40. Let's try one more time. This one's also almost at 0.40. I got 0.40 on that one again. I got 0.40 on these as well. I also got 0.40 on these. So these seem to be 0.40 all the way around. Another 0.40. All these are gapped to 0.40. These were the OEM ones were 0.60. and I was told to go 0.28. There's a big difference between 0.28 and what I have originally and what these were already pre-gapped at. So instead of going to 0.28, I'm just gonna play it safe and probably just go to like point.
My GoPro shut off, but I was gonna gap them all a little bit below 0.40.
So now I'm gonna have to gap all these plugs. So now we're gonna do the same thing. Right now we're just gonna get all these bolts snug them right in, and then we're gonna torque them down to spec.
Using a torque wrench, you're going to want to snug down all the spark plugs to 13.5 foot-pounds.
So same thing on this side. Okay, so now that all the spark plugs have been replaced and torqued down to spec, now you're gonna put all the ignition coils. For me, I'm gonna put them back as is. To pop the ignition coils back in, all you're gonna do is make sure the sensor is facing up top. You're just gonna drop it right in and just push right on in there, and it'll just fall right in. So easy. That's one. That required almost no pressure. Now we're gonna do the other 6. And now the exact same procedure on the passenger side. Once they're all in place, just bang on it like this to make sure it's in all the way, and then just reinsert all the screws that came off with them and then snug them down. And then after you put in the bolts, you're gonna replug in your sensors. Make sure you hear and feel a click to make sure they're in, and then retighten down all the bolts. And now we're gonna repeat the exact same process on the other side. Make sure they're nice and flush, and then tighten them all down. After they're all snugged down, reconnect your sensors. Again, make sure you hear that click. Now that our spark plugs and ignition coils are back into place, they're all set, we can take off the cloth, move all the wires out of the way, and throw on this upper intake back on. So I remove the towel. Feels pretty warm. My GoPro did die on me, so the rest of the video will be on my phone. But as I said, we just removed the towel. We're gonna slap on the intake. Now we're just gonna line up the intake. Make sure that your foam from your fuel rails are on as much as you can put them. And then you can throw back on this intake. Now that since I don't have the GoPro, I don't have both of my hands, so I'm gonna have to put the phone down. So I'm gonna do that real quick. So now I just lined up the upper intake. All you really have to do is just line it up with these 4 bolts. It'll just go right on. It won't like slap on or anything. You'll have to wiggle it around, make sure all the screws can get in. So wiggle them, try to make sure they're in, check every single one. And then once they can all go in, just tighten them down. So now I'm about to tighten them down. So now you're gonna snug every single bolt down to 7.5 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, so I just replugged all the sensors that I could find. I'm pretty sure that's everything. After you replug all the sensors, for your brace, don't forget about your brace. I'll attach that right now. Just throw the bolt on like that and then tighten them both, snug them down. And then for all the sensors, if you really want to know how to put them back on, you can just look at the beginning of the video. I tell you how to do all of them. In total, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7, the clamp. Don't forget to tighten down your airbox. So those 7 sensors and clamps, and that should be just about everything. And then don't forget about the brace right here. Make sure you put everything in the right order. Make sure you lock make sure everything clicks and locks and everything's into place. And then now I'm gonna put on the brace back on. That seems to be just about everything. Everything looks good, so there's only one more thing to do, and that is to start her up. So let's see what happens. Okay, the hood is closed. First start, here we go. Oh yeah, you can hear her adjusting for sure. She was not used to those new spark plugs. Everything's adjusting now, I'm sure. Relearning the one-step colder spark plug. So yeah, successful start. Everything looks good. Let's check the inside of the car.
So at this point, I just checked to make sure that the car isn't throwing any codes, that all the temps look right and all that. Everything seemed to check out, but at this point in the video, I'm still editing. This is taking me over 10 hours to record, edit. So at this point, we're gonna take it out for a test drive, but I just hopped on the mic to ask you guys that if you guys are still watching, please drop this video a thumbs up. This is taking me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to edit. Okay, so this is the first drive. So far it feels good. It feels like it's a little more responsive. I'm not sure if I'm just placebo affecting myself into thinking so, but we're gonna do a little bit of a rip over here, just a little baby rip, because I don't know if it's fully adjusted yet, just to see what happens, and we'll go from there. Yeah, it's a little baby hit. Like I said, it feels more responsive, and this is without a tune. My tuner said that there's no tune required, but data logging always helps push out more power, and that is very true. Okay, so we're just gonna give like a small little test hit. It feels like a lot more responsive for sure. Like I feel it. Like I feel like this is not some kind of placebo effect. I feel like these NGK plugs do make a difference, but you also have to consider the fact that my previous plugs, they've had a lot of miles in them already. So as you can see, my car is at 65,000 miles, about to be 65,000 mile plugs, and then transferring over to these brand new NGK plugs definitely makes a big difference. I want to get some new coils and definitely see what difference that can make too, and hopefully restore any power that I might have lost. And yeah, so I consider this install a success. Alright, so that was it right there. That is the install video for the NGK spark plugs. Make sure to drop a like, please. It only takes like 2 seconds before you exit the page. But there it is, it works, it functions. I got myself a little something to celebrate. You know, they're just spark plugs, but you know, just something to chill out and stuff. But yeah, that'll be all. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below, and I'll try my best to get to all of you guys. So thanks and peace.